What do people do when they see you? What do they say to you most?
What's up?
Just what's up?
They see me every day, so it's not a
I see, that's a nice...
Spike Lee, a filmmaker whose work has shaped generations, challenged societal norms, and given voice to stories that needed to be told, is a name synonymous with courage, creativity, and uncompromising vision. From Do the Right Thing to Malcolm X, he has made films that confront uncomfortable truths and illuminate overlooked realities. But behind the camera and the accolades lies a personal story that few have seen, a tragedy that has quietly shadowed his life. At 64, Spike Lee is celebrated as a visionary. Yet the man behind the lens has faced challenges that have tested his spirit, his resilience, and his heart. The tragedy is not just a single event, but a series of struggles that reveal the vulnerability of a figure the world often perceives as invincible. From personal losses to battles with health and the pressures of maintaining his legacy in Hollywood, Spike Lee's journey is one of perseverance against odds most people could never imagine. For decades, rumors have swirled, and stories have surfaced hinting at hardships, heartbreaks, and struggles that the public never truly understood. Now at 64, Spike Lee has revealed aspects of his life that are deeply human, moments of pain, regret, and reflection that make his story all the more relatable and heartbreaking. This is a story of a legend whose life behind the fame is marked by profound trials, a reminder that even the most celebrated figures are not immune to sorrow. Spike Lee's tragedy is a testament to resilience, the price of genius, and the weight of a life lived under both the spotlight. Spike Lee is celebrated worldwide as a filmmaker who reshaped cinema with his unflinching storytelling and bold vision. But long before the awards, the critical acclaim, and the iconic films, Spike faced a series of challenges that would test his resolve and shape the man he became. Born and raised in Atlanta and Brooklyn, Spike grew up in environments filled with both cultural richness and societal challenges. His parents instilled in him a sense of purpose and pride, yet the world outside was often harsh. Growing up as a black child in America, he faced systemic obstacles and constant reminders of inequality, experiences that would later fuel the fire of his artistry. From an early age, he realized that talent alone wouldn't be enough. His passion for filmmaking emerged when he saw the power of movies to influence perception, spark conversation, and challenge the status quo. But pursuing this dream required sacrifices that few outside the industry truly understand. Spike juggled education, part-time jobs, and the financial strain of trying to enter a competitive and often unforgiving field. Even as he attended prestigious schools and honed his craft, doubts loomed. Friends and family supported him, but he faced skepticism from peers and mentors who questioned whether a young black filmmaker could break into Hollywood. The roadblocks were not only financial but cultural. The industry had entrenched biases, and opportunities for people like him were limited. Despite these obstacles, Spike's determination never wavered. He poured himself into his work, producing short films, writing scripts, and learning the intricacies of directing, editing, and storytelling. Each rejection, each setback, became a lesson. His resilience was built in the fires of struggle, and his creative voice was sharpened by adversity. But even as he carved a path for himself, Spike's personal life faced its own challenges. Growing up in a complex family environment, balancing ambition with personal relationships, and navigating the pressures of early adulthood weighed heavily on him. He experienced heartbreak, frustration, and isolation, emotions that would later find expression in the raw honesty of his films. These early struggles weren't just obstacles to overcome, they were the foundation of Spike Lee's identity as a filmmaker and as a person. They gave him empathy, insight, and a perspective that would make his work resonate deeply with audiences. They were also the first chapter of a tragedy that would continue to test him throughout. His life, one that went beyond career challenges, to touch the very core of his humanity. By the time Spike Lee released his first major films, the world saw a confident, bold, and uncompromising director. But behind the scenes was a man shaped by struggle, carrying the weight of early heartbreak, systemic barriers, and personal loss, a tragedy that would quietly follow him through every stage of his remarkable journey and intense scrutiny. Spike Lee's life, like his films, has never shied away from the harsh realities of the world. But behind the accolades and cinematic triumphs lies a personal journey marked by heartbreaking losses, events that tested his resilience and shaped both the man and the artist he became. As Spike navigated the rise of his career, he faced losses that weren't always publicized. Friends, family members, and mentors who had been pillars of support passed away, leaving emotional voids that were difficult to fill. Each loss was a reminder of life's fragility, and the grief often collided with the relentless demands of his work. He had to continue creating, directing, and performing, even as personal sorrow weighed heavily on his heart. One of the most profound challenges came from close family struggles. Spike has spoken in interviews about the pressure of carrying his family's expectations while pursuing an unconventional career. Balancing professional ambition with personal obligations created a tension that haunted him for years. The death of loved ones during this time intensified that weight, forcing him to confront the impermanence of life and the emotional cost of success. Even relationships outside the family sphere carried their own heartbreak. The long hours, travel, and dedication to filmmaking often strained friendships and romantic connections. People he cared about were sometimes left behind, and Spike carried the guilt and grief of these lost bonds quietly. The loneliness of his path was a stark contrast to the bold, confident persona the public saw on screen. These personal tragedies weren't just emotional. They influenced his creative work in profound ways. Films like Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, and BlacKkKlansman reflect the pain, injustice, and raw emotions he experienced firsthand. The struggles he endured shaped his storytelling, giving it depth, authenticity, and an emotional resonance that audiences worldwide felt but may not have realized came from a deeply personal place. Yet Spike's response to loss wasn't despair, it was determination. Each tragedy reinforced his mission to tell stories that mattered, to give voice to those who were often silenced, and to channel grief into art. Even in moments of heartbreak, he found purpose, using his pain to fuel creativity and inspire change. Despite his public success, these personal losses remained a quiet, persistent part of his life. They were reminders that no amount of fame or recognition could shield him from human vulnerability. At 64, Spike Lee's story is a testament to resilience, a man who has faced profound loss, yet continues to create, challenge, and inspire. The tragedies he endured are not just footnotes in his biography. They are the emotional undercurrent of his life. They explain the intensity of his work, the passion of his storytelling, and the weight of his perspective on the world. Spike Lee's genius, in many ways, is inseparable from the heartbreak he has faced, making his achievements all the more remarkable and his story all the more human. Spike Lee's rise to cinematic greatness was never easy. While the world celebrated his groundbreaking films and fearless storytelling, the journey to the top was paved with intense battles that took an emotional and sometimes physical toll on the filmmaker. Hollywood has long been a challenging environment for artists who refuse to conform, and Spike was no exception. From the beginning, he faced skepticism and resistance from executives who didn't understand his vision, doubted his marketability, or feared the bold messages in his work. Studio politics, creative clashes, and constant pressure to compromise were everyday realities that weighed heavily on him. Producing films that tackled racism, injustice, and systemic inequality wasn't just risky, it was controversial. Spike often found himself in heated disputes with producers, distributors, and even critics who challenged the content of his movies. While these battles solidified his reputation as a fearless filmmaker, they also brought immense stress, anxiety, and a sense of isolation. Many nights were spent questioning whether his uncompromising dedication was worth the constant struggle. Financial pressures added another layer of difficulty. Independent filmmaking requires funding, resources, and patience, commodities that were often scarce for a black filmmaker in a predominantly white industry. Spike frequently had to fight for every dollar, navigate bureaucratic obstacles, and negotiate with people who questioned his credibility. These battles drained him emotionally, making the journey to success even more grueling. Criticism from the public and media also took its toll. Spike's outspoken nature and refusal to back down made him a target. While some lauded his courage, others misinterpreted his intensity as arrogance. The scrutiny weighed on him, and in moments of vulnerability, he admitted that it was exhausting to constantly defend not only his work, but also his identity and perspective as a filmmaker. Despite these challenges, Spike refused to compromise his vision. He channeled the frustration, exhaustion, and heartbreak into his films. Each battle became fuel for his storytelling, each confrontation a lesson in resilience, and each setback an opportunity to push harder for authenticity. Films like Malcolm X and Do the Right Thing were not just artistic triumphs. They were declarations of perseverance against systemic resistance and personal fatigue. By the time Spike reached his 60s, the emotional toll of decades of battles had left its mark. Yet, even at 64, he continues to fight, not for recognition, but for truth, representation, and the stories that need to be told. The tragedy of his journey isn't about failure. It's about the immense struggle behind a public image of brilliance. It's the quiet cost of dedication, the unseen heartache, and the relentless pressure of a life spent challenging norms. Spike Lee's career battles remind us that genius rarely comes without sacrifice. Behind the accolades and the influence lies a story of perseverance, heartbreak, and emotional resilience. A story that adds depth to the legacy of one of cinema's most important voices. At 64, Spike Lee stands as one of the most influential filmmakers of his generation, a man whose work has shaped culture, challenged injustice, and inspired countless artists. Yet behind the awards, the critical acclaim, and the iconic films lies a story of resilience born from tragedy, a life that has been tested in ways few outsiders could ever imagine. The personal losses, early struggles, and relentless battles with Hollywood's barriers have left indelible marks on Spike. They are the invisible threads woven through every project, every line of dialogue, and every frame of his films. They are the source of the intensity, honesty, and uncompromising truth that define his storytelling. While many see only the public triumphs, the private struggles reveal a man who has fought against heartbreak, skepticism, and systemic obstacles to claim his place in cinematic history. Spike's journey is a testament to perseverance. Each tragedy, each setback became a lesson in endurance. Rather than allowing heartbreak or disappointment to derail him, he used them as fuel, transforming grief into creativity, frustration into bold narratives, and loss into films that resonate with audiences worldwide. His ability to turn personal suffering into universal storytelling is what sets him apart as a visionary. Even in the face of adversity, Spike has remained committed to his principles. He refuses to compromise on truth, representation, and authenticity, regardless of the personal or professional cost. This integrity has made him not only a filmmaker but also a cultural icon, someone whose influence extends beyond cinema into social consciousness, activism, and inspiration for future generations. The tragedy in Spike Lee's life is not simply about what he lost. It's about what he gained through struggle, insight, empathy, and the courage to speak truth to power. His experiences remind us that even those who appear invincible face battles that shape their character and their legacy. The emotional toll he has endured adds depth to the joy and admiration he has received, creating a narrative that is both heartbreaking and inspiring. For audiences, Spike Lee's story is a powerful lesson. Success is rarely linear, and triumph often comes with hidden pain. His life demonstrates that enduring personal tragedy does not diminish greatness. In fact, it can deepen it. The intensity of his work, the urgency of his voice, and the passion he brings to each film are inseparable from the hardships he has faced. In the end, Spike Lee's tragedy is a part of his legacy, a reminder that even legends are human, and even amidst heartbreak, brilliance can shine. His journey shows us the cost of courage, the weight of ambition, and the enduring power of resilience. Spike Lee's life, marked by both loss and triumph, is a story that continues to inspire, challenge, and move the world, proving that beyond the heartbreak, true greatness always finds a way to endure.